Redditors, have you ever gotten an ick from a potential partner or love interest that instantly killed your attraction to them? If so, what happened? First date, I was filling gas and she started going through my phone. I saw her go through it and continued to fill gas as she read my text messages. I'm a fairly open person with little to hide, but I do value trust and honesty. Soon as the pump clicked, she put it back in a hurry. I skipped the dinner plans and dropped her home. If I can't even trust you with my phone, I can't trust you with my future. Edit, what happened next? I didn't address it immediately. She didn't know I was driving towards her house until we got super close, at which point we had maybe 2 minutes left together. In a calm and "I'm disappointed in you" tone, I told her I caught her in the act and this blatant breach of privacy was a deal breaker for me. She's too old to be acting like an insecure teenager, she was 26, and that she should address this behavior before pursuing serious relationships. She knew she was in the wrong. She stayed quiet till we got back and left the car without a word. Still no apology though. Edit 2, I do have a phone password. But my car is a trusted Bluetooth spot, so it stays unlocked when connected to car for music. Making spills/messes and leaving it for long periods of time without cleaning it up. Like months. She was best friends with another girl who she constantly spoke shit about when said friend wasn't around. Funkhouse. Stepped into a smell that, I can't describe it. George Clinton would complain about it. Then, as I was sitting on the couch, noticed gnats everywhere. Looked over at a window and there were thousands living and dead in the sill. Tried to throw away a soda bottle, hundreds more swarmed up from the pile of dirty dishes in the sink. That was enough for me. Dated a guy who seemed chill but kept talking about social media and how people/exes were scheming against him. I believed him at first until it got to a point where he thought things like a photo someone put up was an indicator that they were getting him back when these people were literally just doing normal things and posting normal stuff. I think he was schizophrenic, but it was really unsettling. Months later, he rang me out of the blue to ask me about a link between his ex, myself, and a friend. The link was butterflies, and because of this link, he thought we were conspiring against him. I went on a date with a seemingly nice guy in my early 20s. It went well, so after dinner, we cuddled in the back seat of his car in a quiet country area listening to music. He gently played with my hand and fingers and gave me a little massage, so relaxing. When he got to my wrist, he looked at it, flipped it around a few times, and says in a lustful voice, "It would be so easy for me to break this little thing right now." Edit, I said this in response to someone below, for you guys asking about what happened after. It was maybe 2007? I don't remember in detail what happened next. I kind of just played it off like, you're so strong until he took me home. Kind of tried to de-escalate, so didn't acknowledge that statement too much. Just kept the conversation moving to something else and was careful to not embarrass or upset him. I didn't keep seeing him. I was busy for the next dates he asked me on, and then acted as boring as possible until he lost interest in me eventually. We went to college together and were in ROTC together, so avoiding was kinda hard. He started a relationship with someone else pretty quickly after that. Maybe not instantly killed, but a really lovely woman telling me in a sincere voice that she loved me 3 to 4 hours after meeting her freaked me the fuck out in a way that I guess could reasonably be described as the ick. In no way was the statement couched either, just straight up "I love you." Think I responded, "No, you don't." Yeah, I went on a date with a girl who seemed perfectly fine. She was really nice and made interesting conversation, clearly cared and put effort in the date. But then halfway through she gets a call on her Bluetooth headset, which I hadn't even noticed beneath her hair. Why, but it turned me off so quick. It was a coworker calling too, and she started discussing some clearly stressful topic, planning a meeting or something. They got to near arguing and she kept rolling her eyes and sort of half winking at me every time the coworker said something that annoyed her. She ended up saying she had just seen a car crash and she had to run, which weirdly got me back into her a bit since that's a slick move. but then immediately called another coworker to complain about the first one. And kept winking at me. This was all on a Saturday morning, BTW. One of the weirdest dates I've ever been on.
Went on a date with a guy I met at a party. He made me prove that I like Lord of the Rings by answering who said what when he quoted someone. He pulled out a notebook of really poorly drawn anime characters and asked me if he could draw me. He was a lot shorter than me and asked if it bothered me. I said no, then he said good, I like Amazonian goddesses. He kept trying to put his jewelry onto me despite my protests. He asked what I wanted to order for food, then ignored me and ordered me something else and got frustrated I didn't eat it all. He referenced being arrested, made me guess what for, and when I refused to guess for not knowing him well enough he said GBH. He was a trainee doctor and asked if I'd ever broken any bones. When I replied yes, he said that he was going to look up my x-rays. And the icing on the cake. When I wanted to leave he got my knee-high boots, slipped them onto my feet and zipped them up and said you should always be treated like a goddess. My Morticia Adams. All one date. My brief GF bought me some hair care products before she came over because it was right by her house. In return I said I would go grocery shopping and make her a nice dinner. I thought this to be an even exchange. That night I found her looking through my trash for the receipt for the groceries to make sure that the $30 she spent on me was equal to the amount I spent on her dinner. Edit, just to clarity before it becomes two man versus woman. I saw her parents do this to her. It was her upbringing. She did this in every aspect of her life, which gave me the ick, but she did not have very good role models. She started trauma dumping on me, and after telling her multiple times that I wasn't comfortable talking about this in an extremely public place with kids around, she just kept going. She went into extreme detail too, showing me pictures and stuff. When I mentioned getting therapy, she said that she didn't want to change. Hard pass. Literally every single problem she had was someone else's fault. Even when there was proof it was her fault, she would argue non-stop that it was someone else's. She got in a car wreck and called insurance over and over again to tell them that it was the other person's fault. They checked the computer in her car because it saved her speed. She was going right before the wreck. It told them everything they needed to know and she still denied it. OMG, I went on a date with a guy who loved showing how wealthy he was. We went to a carnival and he was pulling cash out of the ATM as I stood away somewhere close by. He pissed me over and was like, check it out. He had a whole 4K in his account face, screaming in fear. Then later in the date he showed me text messages between him and his mother where he was bragging about me being fat and his mom was like, get it. Like TFLMAO. I noped out. He would message me constantly after that. Weird dude. Edit to add, no, he didn't grow up poor. I did. Yes, 4K isn't a lot to most, but I was 19/20 when this occurred, and like as many of you have pointed out, 4K is a lot of money to a poor person. That's why I called him wealthy, but the texts between him and his mom are the part that weirded me out the most. Guess I should have led with it, haven't thought of it in a while, lol. Also, thanks for the laughs. She wanted me to only call her the name of her high school bully, who was Guy, that she said she couldn't stand, repeatedly. Too much to unpack. Edit, this happened like 5 years ago. I was 23 at the time and didn't really know much about dating except for what I learned in high school and was just coming to accept my sexuality. I admit, when things started to get intense I should have ended it, but I got out. This was supposed to be a little look how crazy this relationship was thing. I cried my tears and am doing so much better for myself. Went on a date with an outwardly normal girl. We started kissing and getting frisky back at her place and she started meowing and acting cat-like. It was little mules at first, then leading on to her stopping, licking her fingertips and grooming her ears. She saw me make a face and questioned why I'd made a face. I was straight up and said, because you're pretending to be a cat. She said,
oh, was I? Sometimes it takes over when I'm horny.
We tried again, she mewed again and I noped out of there pretty quickly after that.
You want puss, big man? Well, I'm all puss.
We were going to a wedding of one of my best friends and she began to talk about immigrants were stealing their jobs. I told her, you do realize I'm an immigrant, right? And she replied,
you don't count. You're one of us.
The F I am. This was years ago. I legit don't remember how she got home that day. I didn't drive her back and she was gone before the night ended.
Thank you for watching, friend. Until next time, and remember to stay hydrated.